Hey everyone, this is Steven here, back at it again with another video. In today's video, I plan on looking at some sports cards that you can get for the same prices now as you could pre-pandemic. But before we get into that, if you enjoy this type of content and would like to see more in the future, please feel free to hit the like button and also subscribe. So now that we got that out of the way, we can get into the actual video here. I hope that everyone is having a great weekend. It's currently Sunday, the 27th here in the Pacific Northwest. So I hope that everyone's enjoying their Sunday, wrapping up their weekends and getting ready for the next week. I know that it's hot here in the Pacific Northwest, so I hope that everyone's staying cool out there and just enjoying their Sunday. But with that being said, we can now get into the video. So the main purpose and goal of this video is I've been watching a lot of videos out there recently where a lot of folks have been saying that the sports card market is most likely never going to go to pre-pandemic prices. So that's basically saying that the sports cards prices right now or in the future are never going to go lower than what they were prior to the pandemic. And I somewhat agree with that. I do think that there's a new floor that's been established and that's going to continue to be established moving forward, but no one really knows it at the end of the day. However, I did start looking into it because it was kind of interesting to me. So I did find some players that actually currently have prices that are lower than pre-pandemic pricing. So I'm going to go over what I found. I'm going to be covering the MLB sports card market, the NBA, and also the NFL sports card market. So three of the bigger sports card markets, and I found between 3 and 4 players within each card market that are currently cheaper now than they were prior to the pandemic. So that's going to be the main focus of the video today, is just trying to identify some players that are actually cheaper now than they were prior to the pandemic. I'm going to assume that the middle of March, I'm going to use, let's see here, about 3.7 as prior to the pandemic. So it's between 3.7 and 3.8, because most of the lockdowns, I think California was the first one with the lockdowns, and that was, I think 3.8 was when they actually did the lockdowns, and then all the other states followed, and they're towards the middle of March. And I think for most people that's when it really started to get real. I mean, I know a lot of people were talking about it, but it didn't really hit, I don't think, until all the lockdowns started. So for this, I'm just going to use early March as pre-pandemic prices. So as you can see here, and this is another thing I don't think a lot of people realize, that the sports card market was actually going up significantly prior to the pandemic. And then we did see a little dip here. So around, if you look at the 310, so March 10th of last year was when a lot of lockdowns started happening. And then there's some fear because a lot of people didn't know what was happening. So you can see this little dip here. And then ever since then, we know that the card market just boomed. So, you know, you can see the prices just skyrocketing up, but we have seen a lot of weakness lately. Another thing I did want to mention is just because this Luka, for example, is cheaper, that doesn't mean that all of his cards are cheaper. These are just specific to the one card that I'm highlighting here. So this is in a PSA 10 Luka Doncic Optic rated rookie here. So his Prizms are still more expensive now than they were over a year ago. So this just applies to the cards that we'll be looking at here. So now that we got some of the assumptions out of the way, we can get into the fun part, or at least I think it is the fun part of the video. But we're going to be starting with the NBA card market, and then we're going to move over to the MLB card market, and then we're going to wrap things up with the NFL card market. So we're going to start off with Luka here, and we're looking at only his 2018 Donruss Optic, and this is his rated rookie. Really good looking card here, and this is a fan favorite in Luka. He's one of the up-and-coming stars in the NBA. Had a great season last year. And as you can see here, as of 3/10, this PSA 10 Optic sold for about $436. So that's going to be considered pre-pandemic in this, as of 3/10. And then as of 6/20, this card was selling for about $410. Card is currently trending about the same level, if not a little bit lower than what it was prior to the pandemic. So I thought that was pretty interesting to see that one of the most popular players in the NBA, his cards are a little cheaper now than what they were over a year ago prior to the pandemic. And as you can see, they had the huge boom here, and ever since then his cards have been going straight down. And then the next player I wanted to look at is Jason Tatum, and this is his PSA 10 Prizm, and this is 2017, population of about 5,000. So we'll use 3.7, and that price is about $281 is what those cards were selling for. And then as of yesterday, so 6/26, there's a sale for about $275. So this card is actually selling about the same price, and if not a little bit cheaper than what it was over a year ago prior to the pandemic. So Jason Tatum cards are trending down, and they're getting close, and if not lower than their pre-pandemic levels. And then the next card and player on this list is Zion, and I'm not going to look at any of the numbers here. You can kind of just see. So as of 3/7, his card prices was way up here at 870, and then currently they're trending way down at about 363, and this is his Prizm base PSA 10 rookie card here. So his cards are way down. So this is another player that kind of had a lot of hype going into 2 seasons ago, and ever since then it seems like a lot of the hype's just been dying down. They did recently get knocked out. They didn't even make the playoffs this year, so I think his cards have just been trending down. So this is another player that is significantly lower than pre-pandemic pricing. And then now that we went over the NBA card market, I'm going to transition over to the MLB card market. So now we're going to start with Gleyber Torres on the Yankees, and this is his 2018 Topps Update base in a PSA 10. This card has a population of about 9,000, so we're getting pretty high populations there. I know that there's a lot of Acuñas and Sotos in the 2018 Topps Update. I think there's about 17,000 in there, so this card does have a high population. But as you can see in the pre-pandemic 3/11, we're going to see that these cards were about $116. Currently, they are trading for about $35, which seems really cheap for a Gleyber Torres rookie card at $35 to me personally. But again, that's way down from the pre-pandemic pricing of, about over $100. Now it's trading at about $30, $35. There's one for $27 right there. So Gleyber Torres cards are down significantly from the March prices of last year. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And $27, granted, I know that Gleyber's struggling. The population report on these cards are pretty high, but still $27 seems pretty cheap for Gleyber Torres. But again, his cards are down pretty significantly. And then the next player is one of my favorites, but this is Juan Soto. I've been mentioning him a lot lately, but his 3/9/2020, I guess pre-pandemic pricing was about $140, and this is for his PSA 10, and this is just his base rookie card. So we're talking about $140 pre-pandemic. And then currently, here's one for $135 that sold a couple days ago. So you can get these cheaper now than you could prior to the pandemic. And Juan Soto's cards have been trending down for quite some time now. And he's not having the best year, but I still think that the risk to reward, for me at least, is definitely there for Juan Soto. I would probably try to pick a more limited card than this 17,500 populated card of the Topps Update, but I still overall think that Juan Soto is a extremely good player, and his cards have been trending down for quite some time now. And then the next player is a Gary V favorite, but this is Cody Bellinger, and this is his 2017 Topps Update base rookie card in PSA 10. The population's pretty low, actually, only about 3,000 in there, 2,500. So pre-pandemic pricing, you can see is about $263 here. They're currently trending way down at about $95. So Bellinger cards are down pretty significantly. I know that this was one of the Gary V pump ups. I know he was very big into Cody Bellinger and was really hyping up his cards. Doesn't look like that turned out very well. He has been working through some injuries, but he is currently back. But his cards are down still pretty significantly from the pre-pandemic levels. So Cody Bellinger down pretty big so far. And then now that we got baseball out of the way, we're going to switch over to the NFL card market. And this one was actually pretty tough because one thing I noticed was that a lot of the cards were up pretty significantly. And we can look at Deshawn Watson here, and he's not currently a fan favorite, but if we look at his, pre-pandemic pricing, so 3/9/2020, his PSA Prizm Silver in a PSA 10 was about $196, and currently they're selling for, $375 plus, $500 here for this one. So even Deshawn Watson, who I'm not going to touch on him that much, but even his cards are up pretty significantly from the pre-pandemic levels. So it was extremely hard to find NFL cards that are actually down, but I did my best, and I'll show you some of the cards that I found because there were a few. So the first one is going to be this Lamar Jackson, and this is his 2018 Donruss base. You can see the rated rookie there. And then we look at as of 3/14, so we'll consider this pre-pandemic. This card sold for $118.50. Currently, these cards are trending down again. As of 6/20, this card's selling for $107. So again, this is cheaper than some of the pre-pandemic prices for Lamar Jackson. Another NFL player that is cheaper, but we didn't have a lot of data. This one only went back until May for some reason. So this is Kyler Murray's 2019 Prizm base in a PSA 9. So pretty low population in this, about 2,000 here. But we didn't have a lot of data on this. For some reason, it only went back to May. So I'm just going to throw this in there just as a kind of a bonus. But if you look at this, his cards were selling for about $96 in a PSA 9. And this is, again, as of May. So this can't really be considered pre-pandemic, but I did want to just include this because it was pretty hard to find other players. And I was only looking at quarterbacks for these. But as of right now, it's selling for about $89, $95 there, $89 there. So it is selling lower now than what it was back in May of 2020. So Kyler Murray is actually pretty flat over the past year. They've actually gone down a little bit. So if you're interested in some Kyler Murray cards right now, could be the time to start looking into some of them. And then the last player on the list, and this is a legend here, but this is Drew Brees, and this is his 2001 Topps base, and this is raw, but this is his rookie card of Drew Brees. And if we look at his pre-pandemic levels, and I know that raw, the prices really fluctuate. The other PSA cards, they weren't lower, so I just wanted to use this as an example. Like I said, it was pretty difficult to find some of these cards that were actually lower. But if we look at raw, and we'll use 320 here, this card's selling for about $35 as of 3/20/2020. And if we move over to currently, here's one for about $34. So it's pretty similar. Some of these sales are actually a little bit lower than what they were pre-pandemic, but they're about the same, kind of flat. So Drew Brees, going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, great player, recently retired, but his cards appear to be trending about flat since the pre-pandemic levels. But that's what we have for the NFL card market. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you got some information out of it, and I hope that you found it somewhat entertaining. If you did, please feel free to hit the like button and also subscribe. Thanks again for stopping by, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.